This episode is brought to you by Trump Mortgage.
Good day. I'm Abby Overton, and this is The Real Deal. At the top of the news, a massive portfolio of Harlem Mitchell Lama properties is sold. Africa Israel investors nabbed the old New York Times headquarters, and it may be a case of deja vu as the Kushner companies prepare to sell their entire residential portfolio. The cash registers are working overtime in Manhattan. As first reported by The Real Deal, a massive portfolio of former Harlem-based Mitchell Lama properties has been sold for $940 million. The nearly 4,000 units will represent the second largest residential portfolio sale in Manhattan history. The units had been managed by Jerome Belson, who made his fortune in real estate by purchasing the properties. City records list the buyer of the properties as Urban American Management and City Investment Fund, and the seller as Camabees International, controlled by Uber landlord Ruby Schron. All of the properties, including 3333 Broadway, which was sold for $280 million and is directly across the street from Columbia University's expansion footprint, were recently taken out of the Mitchell Lama program, subjecting them to market rate rents and greatly increasing their investment value. Investment group Africa Israel will purchase the current headquarters of the New York Times at 229 West 43rd Street for $525 million from Tishman Speyer. The firm intends to invest $175 million into renovating the 746,000 square foot office building. Could it be a case of the company that cried wolf? The Kushner Companies is selling the bulk of its residential holdings, nearly 18,500 units, most of them in the tri-state area, to shore up cash for office building purchases. The residential portfolio will net Kushner around $2 billion. The Kushner Companies made a similar announcement in June of last year, but pulled back from bids. SL Green will sell 1372 Broadway, a 21-story tower on 37th Street. The sale is expected to bring the REIT and city's largest commercial landlord around $300 million. Mayor Michael R. Bloomberg has called for a major overhaul of the city's construction codes for new developments, the first major revamp since 1968. The rewriting of the code comes after several years of research, planning, and input from real estate, fire, construction, and other experts, including the Real Estate Board of New York. Partly based on the construction weaknesses witnessed during 9/11, the new code will expand fire and emergency safety requirements, recommend environmental improvements to buildings, and streamline the Department of Buildings operation. The measures would come closer to reflecting internationally developed codes and would be the most comprehensive overhaul of the construction code in city history. Governor Eliot L. Spitzer is expected to announce a number of bills aimed at preserving and expanding affordable housing. One is aimed at raising the rent stabilization deregulation threshold from $2,000 a month to $2,800. Republicans said raising the rent stabilization ceiling would not get past the state Senate, as the laws governing stabilization will not expire until 2011. Democratic legislators have said they are in favor of raising the threshold even higher to $4,000. The mayor announced plans to redevelop a large swath of Willets Point, the Queens area near Shea Stadium. The proposal will result in the transformation of a 60-acre industrial area into a mixed-use district that includes affordable housing, parks, a school, and office and retail space. Led by David Bistreiser, Clipper Equities is in the process of retooling its original $1.3 billion bid for Brooklyn's Starrett City by teaming with housing advocacy groups, trying to prove they will not make the complex too costly for tenants. Clipper's bid for the almost 6,000 units has been blocked by state and federal authorities, and tenants and elected officials continue to be wary of the company's intentions. A rally was held last Wednesday at City Hall protesting the pending sale. Said Councilman Charles Barron at the rally, "Not only do we need to preserve affordable housing, we need to build more of it." Developer Abby Rosen has hired architect Sir Norman Foster to design a 61-story tower on the corner of 53rd Street and Lexington Avenue. Rosen is partnering with Hong Kong-based Shangri-La Hotels and Resorts on the hotel condo project, which will be named Shangri-La and will be built on the current site of a YWCA. Lower Manhattan's residential and commercial markets are performing exceedingly well, according to a report released by the Alliance for Downtown New York. 12 new residential developments added a little more than 1,700 apartments to the area last year. Luxury retailers like Hermès are increasingly setting up shop, and hotel occupancy rates rose for the third consecutive year. Bond rating agencies are adjusting their ratings on risky commercial mortgages. The move is an attempt to avoid a subprime type of meltdown in the industry. Said Jim Duca, a group managing director at Moody's Investors Service, underwriting has gotten so frothy that we have to take a stand. The industry was heading to Niagara Falls. Plans by the Brooklyn Public Library to build a pricey performing arts branch in Fort Greene appear to be stalled. The library is finding it difficult to secure $135 million in funding for the Enrique Norton-designed building. Work on the library will not go forward unless a private donor steps up to the plate, said a library spokeswoman. The library is supposed to be constructed on a city-owned plot and intended to be the centerpiece of plans for a cultural campus near the Brooklyn Academy of Music, similar to Lincoln Center. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Real Deals webcast. Please join us next week for the latest real estate news. I'm Abby Overton, and this is The Real Deal.